All right,
Awesome.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Plausible Deniability, brought to you by Red Dirt D&D. I'm Johnny Payne,
I'm Brooke Bullock,
and we're
and
here
that's it. That's all you get.
to
Nobody else
cause
tonight.
chaos.
Yeah.
See you
Woo!
next week.
The great thing is,
We're back. We're doing it live.
that was good. I honestly had a moment of panic there, where I was like, and next, hello my honey, hello my baby, hello my ragtime doll.
I'll just ask myself these questions.
I didn't even prep any for myself, so.
Bert, good question. Do you have Twitch open?
You know, we are on this will be a scary thought. We are on the same brave wavelength. I was just like, I don't have Twitch open, and I'm just moving my cursor right now to go over and open that puppy up. Because
look, we're there. We're live.
Woo!
You can't. I love
can't
green
see
screen.
it.
See my face? Oh wow, now you can see.
Now you can see.
All right. Oh, it's called AMA Talk D&D with Van Richten's Guide. No, that's not who we are. Oh, you turn your volume down.
I did.
Okay.
I muted it. I muted.
We're gonna have to figure that out.
I think we're good now. I don't think you can hear me. No
Yeah.
echo.
I can't hear you at all. No, I can't.
All right, I like it.
can hear you. Yes. I'm going to have to figure that one out because we are not Ash and Mike talking about Van Richten's Guide.
No, they have a script. They have a text. They have a book. They can open up and go I don't know. Let's talk about chapter 2.
We are making this up as we go along.
Exactly.
On to chapter 3.
Exactly. And if anything goes wrong, you know what we have?
Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah. We didn't mean to do that. It just happened.
Just happened. Unscripted. Plausible deniability. Sir.
We're doing this tonight because you're free because your plans got changed. What are you usually doing on a Wednesday night?
I am usually going to church like a good boy, and usually, no, that's not true either.
Oh, I thought I heard lightning.
That small rumble of thunder. Anyway, no. Monday and Wednesdays I am at Aikido, which is for the simplest explanation, the Steven Seagal movies in the 90s or whenever that was.
I've heard of him.
Yep. So there we go. Steven Seagal and Aikido. So it's at now we're gonna do a shout out. It's at Sen Shenkan Dojo down 23rd Street, 23rd in Portland, basically here in Oklahoma City. And they mix Aikido with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they just have fantastic instructors there. It's great. So,
do you get a weapon?
Stuff. Yes. So that is the other great thing is everything about now. I'm going to see you got me nerding already.
I want to hear all about the weaponry.
You're good. That's very good. So. So Aikido, everything is based off of sword work, and so you have, it's basically the samurai sword, the katana, everything's kind of based off of that, and Kendo is, when you see the guys in the full armor and they're like, ah, and they go at each other like crazy.
Oh yeah,
that's Kendo. Aikido has some of that, but most of it is okay. So what do you do when you take the sword?
You're doing it already.
I can do it already.
Destroying technology with your kung fu skills.
This microphone was sneaking up on me, and I was like, no! This, no script, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
So it is tons of fun.
Here's a challenge for you. You mentioned Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Name a Steven Seagal movie that is not just 3 words in the title. Time's up. Yeah. The more popular ones are three name titles. Driven to Kill. There's Pistol Whip. I didn't see that one. But yeah, Hard to Kill, Above the Law, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, and then they did Under Siege.
Those were the 3 I could think of.
Then they did Under Siege, and that's where it all went downhill.
Is Under Siege the submarine one?
I think it is.
because I was thinking the submarine one, but I couldn't come up with, I was like,
Tommy Lee
Death
Jones.
Under the Waves. I couldn't figure out what it was.
Right. Yep. So I need video of you doing this with weapons, and then I'm gonna run it through some special effects and turn them into lightsabers, and we're gonna be famous. And sued by Disney and Lucasfilm, but famous.
Now, it has since, had a resurgence in a positive way, but are you talking the lightsaber kid famous from 20 years ago? That's a different kind of famous. I have that possibility.
That's however, didn't he meet George Lucas? Didn't he get so bullied on the internet that George Lucas was like, "Hey, let's go have lunch"?
I think it was something like that.
To kind of shut everybody up kind of thing?
Yeah.
I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
Enough about Star Wars.
Enough about Star Wars and Steven Seagal and Aikido.
I want to hear more about Aikido, but that's later. All right, so Red Dirt, am I right?
Indeed, Red Dirt D&D. It's how you and I met.
That is how you and I met. And it seems like we were just talking the other day that we're coming up on episode 50 was the big thing coming up, and then we were doing the math on has it been a year because episode a week, 50, 52, blah blah blah, and it seems like it's been so much longer than a year. I mean, I've known our wife.
People say that about being my friend. It seems like it's been a long time.
It does, and it's whenever I don't know. I have no reason other than getting beat up with your Aikido skills to say things that I'm about to say. But it's when we're sitting there and we're prepping to start, everyone's showing up, and then you walk in, it's oh, there's Brooke. Maybe it's kind of oh, there's the one who gets me. I don't know. Michael and I make those connections, but
yeah. No, it would, and that's really been the thing about the whole group. Is that especially at the beginning when the episodes were first coming out, people would say, "Oh, so how long have you guys known each other?" And for 3 of the 5 of us, more or less, it was kind of we've known each other a month,
Yeah.
And that was kind of crazy. But yeah, there are some people that you meet and you're hopefully I don't know if you felt this way or not, but I instantly was oh, this guy needs to meet my other friends because there would just be this mesh that it would be really great. So.
Yeah. After the last session, I was we need to. I think I may have mentioned this to Ash. Maybe we need to find a DM who will run all of us as players. For a couple of sessions of a base D&D game. I think that would because that's how Ash and I met. Was I jumped into my gaming group fell apart, and I started another one, and people had to move. And basically, that's what happens is people just keep moving. And so I'm you know what? I keep going up to our local game store, game headquarters, and they talk about this Wednesday night D&D, the Adventurers League. Let me go check it out. And I walked in, and I got put at Ash's table, and I was there every Wednesday for 2 years after that. So it's good stuff.
That's fantastic.
But
it has been so much fun having Kiri DM and having Ash on our side of the table.
Oh yeah. That
has been a blast when Ash plays Isa, yeah.
Sure.
The warlock. To see that crafty, wonderful mind working for us now.
For us, not against us. But somewhere in there, in the background, they're I'm going to put this into Red Dirt. Somehow that's going to fit, yeah. But coming on board, you didn't know. Did you know anybody?
I like everyone in the world. I knew Michael. I knew of Michael Cross.
Which one's that?
Yeah.
Love you, Michael.
He plays the halfling, right?
He's.
Anyway, but that's all. I didn't know anybody. I was the person that truly was the wild card, the stranger.
Well, I don't know if Kiri knew anyone either.
That could be true.
We'll have to drag her on the show and ask her.
Yeah.
I had no idea who it was going into it. A friend, because I gave up on social media, years ago, and I guess it popped up there. Someone took a screenshot and sent it to me, and was hey, you should really check this out, because they knew, I background acting experience and, playing D&D. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. And then the nervous audition mode kicked in just in sending the email. And I got the reply back with Michael Cross as the email address. Or maybe it was automatically as a signature or something. And I was like, oh, Michael, hey. And it was like, oh, no, this is Ash. I'm like, I know you too. Or vice versa. I don't remember how it was, but it was like, yeah. I hadn't talked to either of them in ages.
That's fantastic.
But yeah. So.
Well, this is an audition story. I don't think we don't think that we've told yet. So, people who have heard some behind the scenes, they do know that by chemistry, kind of in the George Lucas, arrangement of choosing a cast or whatever, that the four of us were all in the same group as we auditioned. It just happened that way, that the four of us were all in the same group as we auditioned. And as something about the way things are starting off, I could tell that Michael and Ash kind of knew you, and Kiri just knocked it out of the park with, I'm Papa Tea Leaf, and we're just the best things in sliced bread. And I'm like, okay, that guy over there, Zonimus, you, right? That guy's in because he's great. Plus, he seems to know them. She's amazing, and I mean, I was under so much pressure.
No.
And it was just total self-induced geek pressure. Like, I didn't want it until we were in the room, and then I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this so badly.
Oh, yeah. The moment you started talking, though, and see, so, I don't ever say this as a brag, but being a thespian,
By the way, we'll have to talk about how that doesn't work for you anymore.
I know. But being a thespian, you can go to audition with your best, closest, lifelong friend ever, and when you see them get up on stage and read their audition, you just hate them. You just or either you hate them or you are looking at your destroyer. And the minute you spoke, I was like, "That's game. I'm out. I can't. They're not gonna pick me."
Is that what they call it? Drama?
Yes.
Okay.
But no, and honestly, I feel like looking back on it, I feel like the moment that I don't want to say I got it because I knew them. I don't feel that at all. I feel like though the moment though what nailed it was when I'm terrible with names. Honestly, I can meet you 100 times and never get your name. But the guy who was doing the Warforged.
Yeah,
he was writing a journal on his arm and everything.
Yeah.
And then there was the guy who was playing
across from me, next to you.
And he was talking about, so
Eric
he was like, yeah, and he was like, well, I want to talk about like dark elves and do they shed, or not dark elves, elves and half elves, that they shed. Is this true? And the room just kind of the table got silent for about 2 beats. And I remember I just kind of leaned in front of him and went, yes, it's true. It's absolutely true. We elves shed.
was born.
Every so many full moons, we shed, and then it kept going as we're playing. It's like, by the way, you don't want to be around when we shed because the smell. Like the elves can handle it, but if you're not elven, and yeah, so I was like, there we
brilliant.
Go.
Yep.
But it took me a minute to get there because my nerves were just
I almost knew what you were going to say because it was that interchange when you just went in and you, as I just was going to say, you zonomist it where you were just like, yep, that's exactly what it is.
And ever since then, the universe has not stopped just handing all of this stuff on a silver platter as far as material to just set us in motion and get us going. And I'm sure you get asked all the time, is that scripted? I have people at work sticking their head in my office going, okay, I just heard the most recent one. That you guys had to plan that out, right? And no, in fact, as you heard, if you're one of our patrons, you may have heard on our roundtable, the planning doesn't work out. There's been a few of us who have tried to plan some things, and it didn't really work out too well. I think Michael and I one time planned a handshake that turned into a hug, and that was it. It was just that, and it was when Zonomus came back from being knocked unconscious. I'm not going to talk about that. And that was it. It was like, so when I spin around, because if you remember how that led, I walked up on you guys in the tavern, in the Jumpin' Jackalope, and I like pulled his gun up and was going to take his chair and everything, whatever. And when he spun around, it was like, I'm going to stick my hand out to shake it. He goes, oh, what if we go for a hug? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. That worked. If you try and plan one step past that, it doesn't work out well. Disaster. So, because it's so organic, and because what we're being fed from Ash, and because how it's just like the way Poppy comes up with these speeches, Kiri is seriously just sitting there, and all of a sudden she gets this look of surprise on her face, and she's just gone with a pencil or typing away. And then when the moment comes for her to stand up and say, "Attention, Yodis, we're here to help you," and gives this big Independence Day Bill Pullman with speech, I wanted to stand up and start swaying back and forth.
For Poppy. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I thought she was grading papers because she was writing so much. She just stopped, and there was dialogue and stuff going on, and she's just over there, and I'm like, is she scoring an essay from a kid? Like, what's going on?
Is she writing an essay for a kid? Yeah. But no, that's happened.
Got to make money somehow.
That's happened 2 or 3 times, I think.
Yeah. It's
been fun.
Sure. Anyway.
Go.
But no, I was just gonna say, like, all of us take a few notes. Like we do take some notes around the gaming table, but she has the notebook, and I think she even has tabs where she'll like turn to different sections and stuff. My notes are, by the end of the session, I'm like, writing sideways up the side of the paper and then down along over here, because I've just put things everywhere. And, maybe once a month or so, I'll gather that mess up together and be like, okay, I need to kind of like organize this a little bit. But that's come from seeing Kiri with her notebook. I'm like, I got to figure out what's going on.
I said in our Discord chat one day that I'm the master of taking one-word notes, and I got to stop doing that because I'll open it up and it'll be somewhere in the middle of the page. It'll say Poppy, and then like a little bit down it'll say Wolf, and then that's it. And then we get together and we record, and Poppy's like, so me and Wildfire are gonna go do this thing. And I'm like, who's Wildfire? Who's Wildfire?
That's
her and someone are walking away, and or what, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is, and then that's the wolf, of course, Poppy Wolf. Duh, it clears the bell now. I completely get it. Yeah.
Yep.
That is about how it goes. So, you mentioned my head.
Yes.
My hair.
I
joined a gang. We're called the Bad Haircuts. No,
is that run by the guy called Lost Bet?
Yes.
I thought so.
There's a guy who makes a bet with his daughter, makes a deal with her, and so my haircut usually, if you've ever seen me before, it's the shave on the sides and the back thing, and then this has been like super long, not super long, but long. And so I'm used to like always doing this to it, and it's just not working out. So my daughter's like, fine then, next time. And my wife is a licensed hair cutter. Well, that's the word for it, hair cutter.
Beautician, stylist, salon.
Sure. And so, I mean, she's done hair for theater and the Thunder Girls, and I'm calling her a professional hair cutter. So bonus. Anyway, so she does it for me at home. That's not what she does in her daily life, but.
Good job.
So at home she cuts my hair, she cuts other family members' hair. So she just takes the clippers around and then might give a trim to the 4, 5, 6 inches that are on top.
Yeah.
So my daughter goes, so next time you get a haircut, I get to shave your head. And it's like, okay. And I'm thinking the whole time, shave the mom part. Our mom does.
Yeah.
As we go in there, she's like,
no.
do you have to get the scissors and cut that part first? And she goes, no, I usually cut it afterwards. And she goes, no, I mean, do you need to make it shorter, or can I cut hair that long with the clippers? And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? so she has had this misunderstanding that she's been living with, is that I get to shave Dad's head. And in my brain, it might go a little crooked, but I'm sure Layla can straighten it out. Well, I let her do it. She shaved my whole head. I don't know. I thought about getting a tattoo when it first. This is grown out. This is like a few months of growth. I've since then had this haircut again, professionally. But yeah, I was really looking at like this. Is this not going to go back? Is this it? When was the last time I had a haircut on top? Has it been that long for like a year and not moved? I mean, it was just. I was basically willing my hair to not grow. I was so. I wore a hat for weeks. But
you had a hat on whenever I arrived at the studio, and then you were like, ta-da!
Yeah. So that's interesting. You arrived at the studio late while we were recording our roundtable, and we got the new format now where we give our roundtables were patrons only, and now what we do is we give everybody the first 15 minutes of our roundtable, and then we cut that off at that 15 minutes, and then if you want the rest of it, you get to come as a patron. Did you miss the entire roundtable? You did.
I did. I missed the entire thing.
You did, yes.
Like a commoner, I had to listen to it on my own.
So pedestrian.
I know.
Well, when I was out,
I think I'm a Patreon member so that I can listen to it. I'd be in big trouble.
I tell you what, that is an interesting perspective. Have you had a chance to listen to it?
I did twice.
Okay.
It
and
was
the raw,
fun.
and yeah. I think Michael should edit our roundtables with the sound effects like he does for the episodes. because no matter how good we are and how good Ash is, it's the Foley work that Michael does that really brings it to life. And
100%.
Wow, what if he were to edit the roundtables? Like maybe I pop off some like smart aleck remark to Connor, and you hear shot fired in the background, or the zing sound, or I don't know if you ever watched Big Brother, but there was the zing bot, and he'd always come out and like insult you and then go zing. That's annoying. Let's not do that. But yeah. So no, when I had COVID, I was out and missed some
4 episodes.
Trying not to give a peek behind the curtain, but it was 4 episodes worth of COVID.
Yeah.
That could have been 2 months worth. That could have been 1 week worth. I don't know how long it takes to record 4 episodes.
We missed you.
But I missed you guys too, and it was like I listened to those episodes more than once. It was like, but it was so weird listening to it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now I know. Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll share first.
Okay.
I listened to the roundtable more than once because I missed cutting up and laughing with you guys so much that I was getting kind of my feeling of that by listening to the roundtable more than once. Did you like...
It was kind of the same thing,
yeah. Did you miss us? Okay, yeah. That's sweet.
It was truly like they were, and I was listening, because I listened to them so looking behind the curtain, we get them in the raw format with all of us. Wait, can you cast that at this range? Well, hold on, let me get the book and everything.
Or our very first one where the dice go off the table and underneath and over and over.
We're all on our hands and knees, crawling under the tables, looking for... Yeah.
I was like, this is terrible. I was like, I'm going to get fired because I just wasted like 5 minutes of tape trying to find this thing, right? Like, this is the only one I'm going to do. Mockrin's going to die in the next episode. So.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Brooke. We stopped using tape not too long ago.
What?
Yeah.
How do you record it?
So we were running out of gigabits. So those were kind of getting low, but we stopped using tape. You don't have to take it outside and hold it up to the sun to look at it anymore. No, I say the same thing.
I thought the Patreon plug was at the part in the 8-track where it goes cha-chink, and then you
right.
go to the next track. So.
We're jumping around here. My brother in his car had a dual 8-track player mounted under the dash. It was like as big as like a console stereo part. You could put 2 8-tracks in it and shuffle play.
So,
my God, I'm old.
Wow. So old. I thought that in fact, I can't pull it out of my brain right now, but I know that in the past, I associated one song with another song just because they came after each other on an 8-track my dad had that he had recorded himself, right?
Right.
Right. Fine Time to Leave Me, Lucille was always followed by, Kentucky Rain. I mean, I don't know. I'm making that up, but
Before music went digital and it was, cassettes or CDs in your car, yeah, I would pop in the CD and listen to the entire thing over and over and over again. And then I would switch to the radio station and they would play a song off of that CD and it would go off and I'm like, oh, this is, you just kind of almost start tapping your toe to it or singing it in your head before it comes on. And yeah, it doesn't really work that way. But you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Wow. Wow. I wish Michael was here.
We'll have to ask him if he ever had one of those Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds things where for a long, long time I thought that it was 400 children and the crops in the field. I thought that was the lyric as a little kid. I thought that was the lyric for a long time. And then one day my dad was like, "What'd you just sing?" And I was like, 400 children and the crops in the field? He just cracked up laughing. He was like, "It's for Hungary children."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Well, there was Hotel California. There were horses in the corridor. I thought I heard them neigh. That was like one of the most so that one and Jimi Hendrix, "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy" were like
Yes.
the two most misunderstood lyrics until Nirvana came along. In history. Maybe not in history. I might be making this up.
I don't know, but you know what? Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
So something I want to address. I don't know if anyone's brought it up yet. I do this.
Aha.
I vape.
It is a car charger. You plug it in. I can tell. Oh, okay. Now I can see it better.
It's right here in my hand.
It's a CD car charger. I can.
So I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes for 20 years. 2 packs a day.
You have a heck of a constitution save, my friend.
Oh my goodness, do I? It's not bad for a 26-year-old, huh?
Yes.
No. So the patches, pills, therapy. I saw a lich who killed me, resurrected me. None of it worked. I switched to this and I stopped smoking and I felt much better and I could walk up a flight of stairs and I felt like I was going to pass out and everything. And so, yeah, people will see me do it and they're like, "Oh, that was like so 3 years ago." I'm like, "Get off my lawn!" But that's why you'll see me doing that. Brooke, God, I want to know more about you other than the rolling ones from Akron.
That's not my fault, Dr. Jones.
What do you do when you're not out there learning kung fu? And I mean, no disrespect by calling it kung fu. I just like saying kung fu.
Well,
you're not playing D&D. What are you doing?
There you go. Well, I also get to be a dad, but if you're asking for how I make any money to do those other things.
Make money or have fun or whatever, yeah.
It's a trade-off.
Don't say anything incriminating.
Oh, yeah, right.
We're on the internet.
Right.
You're a teacher.
Teacher. Ooh, that's a good one. I'll use that. I'm a teacher. Yes, I'm a teacher. So, no, I teach at Memorial High School in Edmond, America, and fantastic group. I used to teach at Putnam City North, also fantastic school. The school I was at the longest was Del City High, and it was fantastic as well. Before that, my first teaching job was at Blackwell High School, little tiny. I shouldn't say little tiny. It wasn't little tiny, but it was there are more people, more students in one class, like sophomore, junior, senior, at Del City, Putnam City, and Edmond Memorial, than there were in the whole high school at Blackwell. So that was kind of a shock whenever I made that change, But it's been great. Incredible students. This year has been so crazy.
I bet.
So
when it hit, you guys got sent home, right?
Yeah.
And then this year, was it a choice to come in or do home, or you had no choice, it was come in, or?
So I will say that they did like kind of send a poll with us as teachers, and I think there was a survey that went out to students and parents as well, like July, August, or whatever like that. But Edmond did a great job of imagine that, a school following science, and they did just a fantastic job of trying to figure out, okay, so what are the safety protocols and what can we do with students? And we knew from the springtime that learning in front of a computer screen wasn't the best way. And so that's when they came up with the hybrid. I mean, they didn't come up with it, but they adopted the hybrid, where we had half the kids in school, half of the week, and the other half of the kids in school the other half of the week, but you were responsible for your learning like all week long.
Okay.
And that was, I tell you what, when it happened in the springtime and everything shut down, maybe Oklahoma shut down a little bit too soon, like maybe it wasn't here yet. But at the same time, we probably kept a lot of people safe by doing that.
Right.
But that truly, I heard somebody say that was like building a race car as it went down the track.
Oh, yeah.
And still expected to win. Like it was. People were like, "Oh, it must be nice now that you're off work," and I was like, "Shut your mouth! Like this is the hardest I've ever worked in my life."
Yeah.
To recreate things, to find a way to reach kids, to get through this screen and motivate kids.
Right.
And there were some of those same issues in the fall as well. So that was.
Well, from my perspective, when the school shut down, I think everyone was so tense and it's like we knew it was going on, but everything was changing every day. So I'll say fear of the unknown. So
sure.
I think so my daughter super excelled at the finish the year out at home thing.
Yeah.
And then Moore did the same thing. They sent out surveys, asked questions, went hybrid, and it was fine the first month or two, and then people started getting at school, students and some faculty started coming up with having gotten it, not showing up for 2 weeks. They would have to dismiss, every student that has Mrs. So-and-so for third hour, stay home for 2 weeks, on and on. So she went and voluntarily was like, I'm going to stay home.
Yeah.
And then it was this is way different than it was last year, but everything's the same. So she went back.
Yeah.
And it worked out. It worked out better that way. But yeah, I think it was just distracting me from what's happening by putting me through school in this little screen, and it was a good thing. So yeah. But,
it'll be really interesting to see. I mostly have seniors, and so it'll be really interesting to see how these seniors do this first semester in college coming up this fall, because one of the things that's really tough is learning time management, because you go from being in school every day, every hour, doing this thing, to now you go to college, and it's like, hey, you should probably get up and go to your 8:30 science class. Oh, and by the way, remember, you don't have math until Thursday, but there's some homework due, and kids just crash and burn with that thing. Well, this year with the hybrid, they did their crashing and burning between August and October until they finally figured out that I only see you 2 days a week, but you have 5 days worth of work to do so that we can get covered with everything. And there were a ton of students that really liked that schedule. It made them feel empowered because they could get their work done and still have some time. So I'm super excited about hearing back from those students, in October or November, and being like, how was it? Did you have that shock experience of college, or were you used to it because of how we did school this past year? So who knows?
So how many of your students either play D&D and or listen to our Red Dirt podcast?
So there's a handful of them that listen to Red Dirt D&D, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
There is it's amazing. This is kind of my uphill in the snow both ways with only a potato to keep me warm old man story. But, Michael and I especially, and you a little bit, we were in D&D in the 80s when it was like in a friend's basement, literally, usually, and
You didn't get on a you didn't get it on a stage like we're on right now and broadcast to the world that you played D&D, let
no,
alone do it in
no,
front of thousands. But anyway, go on.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no, and it was, I mean, it was, I don't like. uh this is where we might need Michael to edit stuff, but like at the
Oh, we're live, baby.
I know it's gonna be so plausible deniability. You didn't know I
Right?
was gonna say this.
Yes.
Uh,
We need
but
to sign the hold up. So Connor, if you're out there, we just need plausible deniability to.
but nerds are kind of like in the 80s. Nerds were kind of like abused children. Like, you know, you had this experience, and you could find each other across the room. Like, you could just kind of make eye contact. You'd be like, you know, and
Yeah.
you'd say like a code word. You know, you'd be like, hey, so how's your dexterity? Or, you know, oh, yeah, and you got a good constitution. Or, you know, sometimes it would just be like, do you have any dice with you? And then people would be like, you know, now it's like a drug dealer thing. They'd be like, yeah, I know what polyhedral means. And it's like, oh, my people, you
Oh.
know.
Yeah.
Because there was the whole satanic scare and
Oh
and
yeah.
all that stuff, you know, going on. But nowadays it is just like everybody, you know, plays, and it's so popular, and it's on Big Bang Theory, and, you know, Critical Role has made a
Stranger
big
Things
and Most Dangerous Game, and
Mhm.
Game of Thrones and Stranger Things. Yeah. So, um, and at Putnam City North, um, this was like 2012, 2014, somewhere right in there.
Mhm.
There was, you know, again, that thing where people can just tell. There were some kids that came up to me and they were like, hey, Mr. Bullock, you've said enough things. Like, you've made nerd jokes in class. You play D&D. And I'm like, yeah, I do. It's fun, you know. And they're like, you know, basically, we should get like some type of D&D club. I'm like, that would be fun. I don't have time for that, but that would be fun,
Yeah.
you know. And then these other kids would come up and they would say the same thing. And this third group of kids would come up and I'd be like, well, you guys know, you know, Michael, or you guys know Patrick, or you guys, you know,
Right.
Shirley, you know, Jesse. And they would be like, who? Like, these three groups of kids who all played didn't know each other. And so I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll do this D&D club thing, and I'll bring these like 10 kids together. There'll be like 15 kids that show up for like the first 3 weeks, and then it'll dwindle down to like 6 or 7 of them, and, you know, maybe I'll get to be the dungeon master, or maybe, you know, like, I'll get to play some or whatever, and it'll be great. No, that's not what happened. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It became, between like 2014 and when I left in 2017, it became the biggest, best attended club on campus.
Oh wow.
Every week for 2 hours after school, you know, 3:30 to 5:30, there would be like 35, 40 kids with like 8 different tables, all playing all kinds of things. D&D, you know, Vampire, World of Darkness, I mean, everything.
Mhm.
2 or 3 Pathfinder, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles table. I mean, it was the best thing in the world. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's 2015. So,
Yeah.
because I always feel like it's. I think, like, I feel like D&D had a big boom when Fourth Edition came out, and I think it may just been buzz about Fourth Edition.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Fifth Edition is where it really took off, and there are people who I wouldn't have. Well, so our friends D20 to Curtain.
Yeah. Woo!
They're all very local, or not very local. Sorry, they're local people, and they are theater people. Hence the D20 to Curtain, which in my mind I always say thank you 20 when I hear that. But so I would always, you know, I grew up in theater and done theater, you know, most of my life, almost all my life, and
Yeah.
I would always sit around and think, why? I don't understand why these people aren't playing Dungeons and Dragons or some kind of role playing game, especially when we were doing improv skits or an improv class, and
Yes, yes.
I'm like, oh, you know, yeah, this will be a piece of cake, and I mean, some of it was the actual super mechanical structure of yes but most of it was you can make stuff up, you know, and so then D20 the Curtain comes along, Fifth Edition came along, you know, it's something like opened their eyes to it, And now I know so many theater people all the time. My wife recently tagged me because a mutual friend of the theater was like, "So I hear this D&D thing's pretty popular. I think I'm going to check it out. Anybody tell me where I can start?" And she tagged me, and and I've had 2 or 3 people in theater do that, and then I end up getting tagged for it. It's like, yes, exactly. And so I'm glad that it hit as hard as it did, 5th edition, with the mainstream. Whether it be just people decided to start being open-minded, or the right people were playing it, or whatever Wizards of the Coast did. But yeah, it was good stuff. You mentioned Vampire the Masquerade. That was, whew, man, no pun intended, cut some teeth on that game for sure. So I was storyteller for a group for that game for 4 years on a single story, and
wow.
it's yeah. It was amazing. If you haven't played it, play it. Go check it out. It's super fun. There are so many sessions we go, not even roll dice. It was just who could outsmart the other in conversation, who's more silver-tongued, So it was neat stuff.
That was the most fantastic thing about having every week, 2 hours every week, was that we had tables that it took them a couple of years, but in a couple of years they got through entire Pathfinder adventure paths, and it was just it was so great to just see that incredible arc, and then kids would just be like, so pumped.
Yeah, and I hear people play. There's an adventure path I'm in right now that's it's not winding down, but it's starting the final book. They do 6 books for their big adventure path. Super excited for that, and kind of sad too. Is like I don't want it to end, but I'll talk to people. Like there was a because of COVID and the situation we're in, a lot of major conventions have gone online. So PaizoCon was online this year. And I went to that, and a lot of people were talking, saying, "Oh yeah, me and my group, we played that when it came out." And they were like, the hard part was waiting for the next book to come out because they were putting them out every few months. And I'm like, you flew through those books that fast? And we started playing this over 2 years ago, and we were meeting in person. And when COVID started, we just took it to one of the online, virtual tabletops. I'm like, no, you gotta play it slow and savor it, and take in every bit of it. And I really enjoy doing that because in the little one-shots, when you go out there and play in an Adventures League, Paizo has a similar thing called Society, and it's just little one-shots they're all connected. An NPC was referenced that was a major NPC pain in our neck from this adventure path.
Oh, really?
And so, I'd heard that name, and I was like, oh, this guy. And, the GM laughed because he knew who it was, too. And then we kind of talked, anyway, it was. But I don't think you'd have got that if you just flew right through it as fast as you could. I mean, I know some people burn through Adventure Pass in a few months, and holy cow, I don't know. It's like I don't want to watch a movie on fast forward.
There was there's another podcast that you and I both listen to that's a Paizo based podcast, and they're going through the Giant Slayer campaign story arc, right? And somewhere in there, a name from Wrath of the Righteous, Terendelev, got dropped in there, and you could tell the guys at the table who had experienced Wrath of the Righteous, because when that name is mentioned, they're like all going, whoa, and I'm doing the same thing because I know who that is from this other adventure path. And then the other 2 guys at the table are like, what, is that a big deal? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are fun. It's like when you're watching a TV show and they say the name of the TV show. I think there's a meme for that out there on the internet, with that one guy who's in those movies pointing at the screen when that happens. Brooke.
Sir.
Who's coming on next? We're going to do this again in a few weeks.
That's a really good question. You've talked to Kiri.
I've talked to Kiri, and the crazy thing about that is that I didn't hit record, and the audio was messed up on my part. So
halflings do get to re-roll natural ones.
We need to give her a re-roll. We need to kick in her luck ability and give her a re-roll. So, do you want to be good cop or bad cop?
Ooh,
Let's just high five halfway through and we'll switch.
Yeah, if we don't say it right now, then we'll have plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability. Oh, see, we're saying the name of the And we've come full circle. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Those of you who caught us live, if you're catching us on YouTube, hey, leave a comment. We're coming around every couple of weeks. Might be Wednesday, might be Thursday, might not be at all. Who knows? We're not promising anything.
Because
plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, Brooke.
Yes, sir. It was fun.
I had a good time.
I should. Anything else? Anything we didn't mention or talk about that you didn't have a chance to mention or talk about?
Are you hinting at me? Are you sending me a message saying, Johnny, I thought you were going to talk about something?
No, not at all. I am not. It's great when I do that every now and then where I'm like, no, not at all. And people are like, was that sarcasm? I'm like, no. And then they're like, it was sarcasm. I'm like, no.
Yeah, my wife and I do that song and dance all the time. It's like, no, not at all. I don't mind making dinner tonight like I did last night. I don't, yeah, no. All right. No, you know what? It doesn't matter if we didn't talk about it now.
That's right.
We can talk about it next time.
Woohoo.
And it'll be just like it was supposed to be there, like the universe talking to us.
There we go.
Oh my God, I got it back. I'm sorry, those last recording sessions, I had no idea where this voice was. Was seriously struggling.
It happens.
Yeah. All right, so come back in a few weeks. Carrie hasn't even said she's coming on yet, so she'll be here. You're gonna pop on. It's gonna be us and then somebody with a potato sack over their head.
Yeah.
And they're gonna pull it off, and there's gonna be Carrie going, "Guys, what are y'all doing?"
Yes.
All
now
right.
we just need to get her husband to, we just need her significant other to like be in on that so that he can, because we're digital, we're virtual, and I could run over to her house and pull the sack off and then run back over here to the thing, but
your running animations are spot on. All right, we're gonna go talk to her and see if we can get her to come back next time. Right? If you want to hear us make up stuff and talk about a specific topic, yell at us. Let us know. Hit us up on our Twitter, on our Facebook page. If you're a patron, hit us up on Discord. Our Discord's a lot of fun, especially when the artists come out. And start,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, such good stuff. Yeah.
You are at the Johnny Payne on Twitter.
I am.
Woohoo!
Don't tell anybody.
Okay. And we can, and of course at Red Dirt D&D on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
And Facebook.
Yep.
And here, of course, people would know that if they're... Oh, and YouTube. You might be watching it on YouTube right now.
We're on the internet.
That's true.
That's true. Where can they find you, Brooke?
I am at Bullock Brook on Twitter, and then Brooke Bullock on Facebook. Pretty easy to find, and I think that's all the places that I am.
Rock and roll.
Woohoo!
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Johnny Payne.
I'm Brooke Bullock.
And we're claiming plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
See you next time.
Johnny's fault.